How we create energy is a hot topic, if you excuse the pun, Mr Gray, and it's vital that Parliament, Government and the broader public hear our concern in relation to burning trees to generate energy. And the government's own figure, just in terms of context, the government's own figure per annual bioenergy emissions at 47 million tonnes of CO2, 10% of the UK's annual greenhouse gas emissions and 4 times greater than coal, as the member for East Antrim has just said. And the member for East Antrim makes an important point about the wider debate about how we balance the need for environment, the need for energy that we to keep us warm and to feed us, and also the biodiversity. And it's a really big debate that we haven't got time for today, but must be had. But I want to focus my brief remarks on where the best home for carbon is. And some rightly emphasise that keeping in the ground is the best place. They want permanently kept in unused fossil fuels. And I accept this if the alternative is not even more destructive. Many of us here believe that the best place for carbon is in trees because not only do they store existing carbon, but they capture more. And we and our constituents cannot believe the arguments that says that burning those trees and releasing huge amounts of carbon into the atmosphere makes sense. In fact, I didn't know a great amount about this subject until very recently, and just hearing what I've looked at over the last few weeks and hearing what's been said today just makes you realise how ludicrous and harmful and how this issue is, and how we must find a way to put an end to it. Yet I want to focus particularly on the specific store of carbon, which is carbon being turned into timber for construction, including uses like building frames and furniture. These are long-term uses for carbon. By making building frames out of timber, we also reduce the need for cement and steel, which we know are both highly carbon intensive. Yet the problem is that the burning of trees for energy is increasingly taking wood away from being used in the construction, as a member for North Devon made that clear. 2 months ago, BBC Panorama reported about the quality of wood being used by Drax in its pellet-making plants in Canada. As we heard, it found that only 11% was grade 6 or grade Z, the diseased or rotten wood which Drax's PR machine says it uses for pellets. The rest was not waste wood. It could have been used for timber, making things like chipboard, OSB and other essential sheet building material, which again stores carbon for the long term. The Telegraph reports that the government's own current plans for bioenergy would, by 2050, be needing to burn the equivalent of 120 million trees a year. We've heard that the entire New Forest only has 46 million trees, so that is the equivalent of burning the entire New Forest every 5 months. No wonder we import all the wood, but what if other countries did the same? As a member for Uxbridge noted last year, we all live under the same sky. Forests destroyed in Canada for burning in UK power stations have a big impact for all of humanity. Given that so much useful wood is being burnt by power stations like Drax today, what would be the situation if global demand for wood pellets grows 3,000% as forecast by Chatham House? If there isn't enough waste wood today, then inevitably better and better grades of wood will be going up in smoke or in our power stations. And inevitably, that will be driving up the price of timber, forcing builders to use cement and steel. And there is another important aside. So we talked about the use of wood in building, but I've learned, again, in recent years, I've come from the construction trade before I entered this place, Mr Gray, but I've learned that actually these people that produce the panels and the sheet material also find a way to pretty much use all of their waste wood. So there is a real debate now about how we use trees, where we use them, and actually where we should focus the issue around carbon capture. Bioenergy threatens to devour huge quantities of wood needed for construction, land needed for farming, and water needed for drinking. It is robbing land needed for human homes as well as habitat for countless species. Bioenergy is not a wolf in sheep's clothing. It is a monster, as we've heard this morning. Those who gave it birth 20 years ago might have had good motives, but today we must pass its death sentence, for it is doing our planet and our climate no good whatsoever. And we mustn't forget, as we've heard, that it is costing UK taxpayers 1.2 billion just in 2021 alone in subsidising this bioenergy production. Thank you, Mr Gray.